We're borrowing money to buy a Segway and we want to make monthly payments to pay it off. So the amount you owe at the end of a month in terms of the previous month's amount is modeled by the recursive formula given here in purple. So the b sub n and the b sub n minus 1, we kind of talked about recursive in the last video, but this means like the last month's amount, and this would be your current month's amount. But what do the parts of the equation represent? Well, let's start with the 8,000. The 8,000 is your original loan amount, how much you asked to borrow. It's what you started out owing. Your minus 300 would be how much you're going to pay every month. So 300 is your monthly payment. Then the 1.03, something to be careful about. Now this intro talks about making monthly payments. It never mentions that there's an annual interest rate. In class, you had an annual interest rate and you were going to pay monthly. So if that's ever the case, just watch the wording. If there's an annual interest rate, you'll need to divide that by 12 to figure out your monthly interest rate. But since it only mentions monthly and we're giving what you owe at a month in this equation, we don't have to worry about doing any division by 12. So this 1.03 means you have a 3% monthly interest rate. Now, we want to do a now next. So this recursive formula, remember it always has your starting value. Now next is a little more simpler. So next month's amount owed will be 1.03 times what I currently owe now, take away 300. How much would you owe after 3 months? Now we can start to use our calculator here, or again we could go to Excel and figure out what we would owe for many months, and that might be more helpful in the long run. So I'm just going to do Excel. If you want to know how to use the calculator, see the last video. So starting with 8,000, we know that's our original amount, so I put that in my A1. Then I need the equation, so I type the equals first. I'll click on my A1. I'm going to take my original value I owed times 1.03 for my 3% interest rate, and then subtract 300 because I'm going to pay that off that month. This would be what I owe after 1 month. And again, I like to label this column just a little bit to get my mindset. Originally I owed 8,000. 1 month later I'm going to still owe $7,940. I can drag this down now because that equation will copy to answer the few more questions that are coming up on this slide. So they asked, what will I owe after 3 months? Well, here's the third month. So going back to 7841.54, we'd say, I'll drag this over here, and then I can just go ahead and write 7814, and what was it? 54. I'd still owe 54 cents. Or maybe 55, something like that. Close counts there. So how much you would owe after 3 months, there we have it. When would you pay off the loan? If we go back and look at our Excel document, when we drag it all the way down, we get the formula all the way for months and months. We're going to be looking for when we go from a positive value to a negative value. So this says 55. Remember that shift a little bit. That would not actually be the 55th month. That's the 54th month. So here I am on the 55th month. I would owe no more money. I have a negative balance. So when will you pay it off? We would say that would be in the 55th month. And remember, that shift is because the 8,000 up top was in A1. That wasn't month 1. So my 55th month, pardon my pen writing here, 55 months. When would your final what would your final payment be? We can go back to Excel and see that last full positive number. The 131.75 would be how much I'm going to owe at the end. So we can write that 131.75, and that would be my final payment on month 54. Okay, so our final part here says, what would paying $200 do to the equation? Well, of course, that's just going to change. Let me change my color here. If I want $200 to be my monthly payment instead of $300, that's probably not a good idea in terms of my bank account because it's going to cost me more interest. But that would just change that $300 to a $200, and it would help me pay it off, but it wouldn't pay off as quickly. So if they want to know when would you pay it off by paying 200, the nice part is my Excel, when I go back into my equation up here, I can change this now to 200. I'm only going to pay back 200 a month. And I would recommend clicking on that top one again and re-dragging it down just to be safe that that 200 is being applied all the way through. Now remember, this is where you actually paid off that Segway originally by paying 300. You still have 13,000 to go now. So you can see by lowering your payments, you made a lot more work for yourself. So let's drag this again. I didn't even get far enough here. I'm going to have to drag for quite some time. One. Oh, we're still not in the negatives. This isn't good news. So when we were looking at this, we said after 55 months, I wasn't even getting anywhere. And the sad part is you can see the numbers are going up. And what that means is you're not even paying off enough money each month to cover your interest rate. So you're never going to pay it off. Now, I won't ask you something like that on a quiz, but you might want to note that when you're buying your next Segway.